Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the GeekVerse Retrospective. I ain't no effing virgin, Travis Snail. I'm joined by...
I am the schist, Kirklin Patzer.
I was wondering how you were going to pronounce that. I am the new sheriff, Dylan Musk.
I'm the bad mojo, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed, which you probably haven't, but luckily you clicked on the episode, or maybe you're just on autoplay. I don't know. Either way, in honor of Werewolf by Night, which is featuring the titular character of this film, we are reviewing 2005's Man-Thing, which has, I think, a budget of like 1.5 million or something like that.
Wow.
It had a bunch of development hell. I think it released in theaters a little bit, went to a lot of sci-fi channels and stuff like that.
Produced by Kevin Feige, of course. Don't forget it.
Was it produced by Kevin Feige?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
I
it
see this.
really?
Oh,
Oh my
God.
gosh.
Oh, I'm glad you pulled out. Oh, no.
That's crazy. Because I'm watching this, I'm like, that would be so funny if I just saw a Feige credit on this. But I'm like, there's no way that's possible with what this movie is. But
Oh, my God. Well,
Alas,
good pull
here
by
we are.
Dylan, because, I was going to pull Wikipedia. But, that's crazy. But, this was in 2005. And
this is the blueprint for the MCU, right before Iron Man. all that stuff.
Okay, so I misspoke. It had a box office of 1.1 million, had a budget of 5 to 7.5 million. So it's always good when it's kind of an estimate. You never know what the actual thing is. I like in Wikipedia they have all the things, and when you click on future, it just says Man-Thing will appear in the 2022 cinematic Marvel universe. Like, there's no future about this, but yes, we're reviewing that because obviously if you've seen the teaser, Man-Thing is in that. I think that is the monster they are hunting. He is a monster in the MCU universe. But Taylor, we got lots of stuff. And the week before this, when people are listening, we got 10 casts in 1 week. I'm not sure what's gonna happen this week, but this week we got Werewolf by Night, a bunch of stuff happening. Where can they find it?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find that and more with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Everything you need to know is down below, where to find us, where to talk to us, where to watch, listen, our podcast network, which has like 7 shows a week or something like that. And then most importantly, head over to Patreon because you get episodes ad-free and early like this. We're recording this like a week and a half early. You begin this the day after, right? Ready to go, primed, and there's a bunch of different benefits, bunch of different tiers and whatnot. So head over there for exclusive ad-free early stuff. And everything that you do to support this channel goes back into the GeekVerse network. So whether it's new shows, more shows, everything, it's because of each and every one of you. A big shout out to the Patreon producers at the Phase 4 tier where you get every single benefit. Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Joshua Wright, and Smalley Biggs. And then head over to Manscaped because, man, I'm telling you, Man-Thing, he's somebody that needs some manscaping right now.
Ooh,
so next time I see him, I'm going to hand him this code and say, hey, GVPOD, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. I'm not sure if they're going to ship to the swamp, but I bet they do because Manscaped's that good. So make sure you go over and you don't want to be looking like Man-Thing right now. So, Dylan Musk, I'm going to start with you, the new sheriff. I would usually ask you, have you seen this movie before? But I feel like that we all know the answer to that as far as when we started this. I think like, oh, we've never seen that. So what did you think of the 2005 Kevin Feige produced Man-Thing?
So going into this, you look at the cover art for the movie. You see the reviews on IMDb. I went in expecting this would just be total shit. And I think it mostly is. I think primarily the writing, the character's story, the acting from especially your main actor, not good. Misses the mark greatly. But I gotta say, there's a lot of good horror-y stuff in here. I think the visuals for the swamp and stuff like that actually is pretty good. And Man-Thing as a character, I mean, it's not like he's having long conversations. You're not getting that character development.
No,
but he looks cool. I like the look and all that. So there's definitely some things to like in this, but it's overall not that great. And I mean, one thing too is this came out in 2005. It's already very dated. A lot of the characters are just outwardly racist and stuff like that. Which I mean, it kind of fits for the where they are and the characters they are portraying, but I don't know. It's not really needed, and just watching that stuff is just super cringe now. So, yeah, it's not great, but I'm excited to talk about it because there's some good stuff, some nuggets to be found in there.
Yeah, I just want to hang on here.
What
that was
is
scary.
going on?
That was like a jump scare.
Oh, he came back because
How'd you bust me?
I was trying to zoom in on Taylor, just like he was this dead spinning chair there, Man-Thing got and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
no.
because I don't know how the other two feel. I'll go because I think I'm in very much the same boat as Dylan. I had seen this movie once a long time ago, like at a midnight, like it was on, watched it a little bit. I don't even know if I watched the whole thing. It had commercials, but I remember enough of it. But it was probably around this era of like 2006 to 2012, somewhere in there. Like it was definitely. It's crazy. Only like 7 years before I met Emily, when I put it in perspective that I was watching Man Thing in that time. It's still somewhere in there. And I was expecting when I put this in to be a lot worse. And I think it's like every almost generic run-of-the-mill horror movie back then. I think it's on this line of it's like good enough, and it still has some so bad so good moments. It never goes like one way or the other, and it never goes into just straight up bad territory for me. And I think it being an hour and a half helps. I think it could have even been shorter, because I think there's some things you could cut. But no, it wasn't offensive. I wasn't hating this movie. It was fine. I actually do. I agree with Dylan. I like the swamp. I like the set. I was like, man, I would love to have a set like that. Like, there's lots of fun there. I think Man Thing, for a $5 to $7.5 million budget, doesn't look awful. Like what they're working with, they make it work. So I thought it was not any worse than a lot of. This feels very much like a 2000s, mid 2000s horror movie that was happening that time. That was low budget, that you saw on like straight to DVD and you rented or something like that. Or like I said, you saw on the Sci-Fi Network at 1 a.m., which is where I feel like I saw it. So yeah, I didn't hate this. I've seen worse ones. Will I ever watch it again? No, like not by choice. Like if it was like a joke, then sure. But there's nothing that I need to go back to. And yeah, Dylan's right. The main guy, not the greatest. He's this clear, but it's this type of movie. So that's the way it goes. So Taylor Field, where were you, Mr. Bad Mojo?
So this film was a pleasant surprise, I'd say. This clearly
Oh God!
was.
I guarantee people are tuning in for us like to rip for us to rip it to shreds. But so far, it's like we're gonna
Haven't
get better
gone
reviews
yet.
than
Haven't gone yet.
2016. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It caught me by surprise, and I think it's because I'm a sucker for that 2000s horror movie like era, especially like Wrong Turns. This just made me feel like I was watching Wrong Turn. And I really, really like that. And again, it just, at the same time, it just made me feel like I was watching some like low-key Bigfoot movie almost. So it's just giving me all those kind of things I really liked, and it just caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting certain, the rating is 14, as I learned from Travis, but I wasn't expecting some other adult tones, and it caught me by surprise. But
We'll get into that after the overalls. It's not actually rated for. So it IMDb like has it when you click on it. I'm pretty sure the very top it says like 14A, but then when you click in the parental advisory and stuff like that, it says rated R. So
Well, it didn't go to theaters, right? Would that be a reason why it would be like kind of weird with the rating?
Yeah, it could be, and I guess I'm wrong because I swear IMDb they must have updated it. They knew I watched it, but there was something there that said 14A. Because at one point, luckily I didn't. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could have this on while like the kids are playing stuff like that. But I chose better judgment. Like just to be sure, I've seen this movie in a long time, and the opening scene made me very happy. I made that judgment in forefront. So,
yeah, I'm just excited to talk about this movie because I getting to know a little bit more about the character. I don't know anything about Man Thing's like comic book origins or anything like that.
Not much for me either.
I feel like what I did pick up from this movie was actually like a great kind of baseline foundation of this character. Like I'm happy I know something going into Werewolf by Night just to kind of connect the dots a little bit, I guess. And yeah, it's just I'm a sucker for those early 2005 films, and this one, like, just the editing, and this isn't a spoiler, but like they do these quick jump scares where the screens would like change over and they have some quick narrations.
God.
Like, fuck, this is such a 2000s thing, like Frosted Tips and all, and I'm so just loving everything about it. So yeah.
Kirklin, Patzer, where are you on this?
I love me some Frosted Tips, but I don't be loving me some Man Thing 2005. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like look into this movie beforehand. Just earlier today, like Taylor and Travis were talking about it. I happened to be in that same chat, and I was like, okay, I'll throw this on. I got nothing else to do, and yeah, I did not like this movie. I feel like it could have been a lot more enjoyable if I was in like a friend setting, like if we were watching it as a group and just like really point out like the ridiculous things that were going on. But yeah, like for me it was like the poor acting, the poor writing. It was so cringy, like Dylan pointed out. But like you guys mentioned, I think there is some good with like the horror element stuff, like just having a creature in like a swamp, like that's an easy like horror movie right there. And I think when we're actually in those settings, it definitely worked. I'm not expecting like some phenomenal acting in that sort of setting, but it was just like the in between. I just felt like it. Like Travis, you mentioned it was only an hour and a half, but like it felt so much longer because of those sequences of like just characters like conversing before we get to like some Man-Thing stuff. But I think when we were like in the swamp, I was liking it a lot more. But yeah, the characters just made it so like it made me so detached from the film, because I wasn't really like rooting for anyone or like what was going on. It was just like, okay, like I'm waiting for this reveal of what the Man-Thing looks like, and as you mentioned, it does look pretty top notch for what this movie is. But I just don't think I'm a sucker for 2005 horror movies like Taylor is.
I got a bunch we can watch in marathon.
Okay, yeah, maybe you can win me over, but as
At
of
the
right now,
Halloween
I'm
party,
definitely-
we'll have them playing. That's what you do on the screen. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll take our first ad break. Obviously, like we're getting into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, I'll tell a story in a second. It is on YouTube for free, so if you want to watch that.
I did not. I paid a good $3 to rent this on.
Did
Amazon.
you actually?
I didn't see it on YouTube.
I didn't
and
see it
I
on
even googled
YouTube
it today.
either,
I didn't see
actually.
it on there.
Kevin Feige's thinking we're gonna do a sequel to this now.
Oh yeah, I just put
The
a Man-Thing
$3.
2005 today, and I was like, oh good, because I tweeted this where luckily if a movie bombs or is very bad reviewed and it's old enough, usually it's just chilling on YouTube for free. This only has like 143,000 views, like not even millions, stuff like that, and just the whole thing's on there. But funny enough, what someone did for this edit, it's completely the same except for one thing. They edited in the current Marvel logo intro, so like the dun, 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 dun. So the whole like Captain America, everything like that. It's not the original one, so it's just so funny. That's the only change. Nothing else I thought is gonna be dubbed. Is something gonna be edited? It's like they're editing the MCU. No, nothing's changed. Just the logo is the MCU current one.
How do you know? How do you know nothing else has changed? You said you saw this once, like all that time ago.
Well,
How
it
can
has
you
the
be
same
certain?
runtime as like the actual film, and like I was expecting a different language. I meant like I thought they were gonna splice it with they'd have a scene, and then it's like you see like Punisher from Netflix doing
Yeah,
like that's why I
okay.
thought it was like a project they made, because I saw the opening. I'm like, oh no, and because it's a full movie, so I'm like, oh, I've been bamboozled. This is not the thing. So did you rent it, Dylan, or do you now own Man-Thing?
No, I rented it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think to buy it was like $15. I'm like, no.
You can do that now,
would've
right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. I gotta get that steel case.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take our first ad break, and then we're gonna go full spoilers into Man-Thing. So we'll be right back. And we're back. See, I want to talk about the opening scene because that's where I said some line or some site somewhere gave me 14A. And luckily, as I didn't, the kids were asleep. But we open up, there's a party around the swamp, not in the swamp, but around the swamp. And that's where there's just line of these couple pop up, their clothes and everything. They're making out. He's putting the moves on this lady. And that's when he drops, she says something like, oh, do you know what you're doing? And then he just like very violently, just like, I ain't no fucking virgin. Like Dylan said, very stereotypical, yes.
Well, he calls her out. He's like, or she says like, are you a virgin? And that's when
Yeah,
he's
You seem
I
like
ain't
a
no fucking
virgin, Billy.
Yeah. Were you gonna say, Kirklin, you're moving edge, you're that close to that mic there.
I was just very thrown off about this intro, honestly, because Taylor and Travis were conversing. It's like, whoa, what a start to the movie, and then that's when they're like, is this 14A? I'm like, okay, something's gonna happen that's gonna catch me off guard, and I was not expecting to just see some exposed breasts on screen so
Right
early,
away.
so
Yeah.
close to that MCU logo. As
Neither was
shouting.
Billy. I loved his reaction. He was like, "Holy shit!"
I think he is a virgin after that reaction.
I am a fucking virgin.
Yeah, I think he proved it
He
right
wasn't
there.
trying to hide it though with that reaction. Like that
No.
was amazing.
And whenever I saw this the first time, I did not remember this. I don't think we'll ever get to this point, but in ranking of the most best or outrageous, whatever sex scenes in the world, these couples start to have sex in a boat, and it's like a canoe, whatever boat. But it's not anchored. It is going down a river, and they're having sex in the boat while it's moving and everything like that. There was a moment though when they flipped over. Her hair, if you look inside, actually dipped in the swamp water. It's like, ew, gross. Like that's not good at all. But very ambitious sex scene, which led to him getting torn apart and her upper torso just getting smothered in blood. And like, man, I'll never forget that opening for sure. From everything from the start to the end.
It's iconic.
They didn't properly cut the scenes either, because like she was on top of him, and then she just flips her down, and she's still fully dressed from the waist down, and he just starts like going at him. Like, you didn't properly declothe her though, so I wasn't sure like how
Pants with holes. It's
Pants
big
with
in that
holes,
area.
yeah.
Undid the
Yeah.
buttons and stuff through there.
The buttons. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, though. Just like the whole travel sequence, them just intercoursing down this river,
It's just a
and like
shot
from
of
the
boat.
guy's perspective, like what a way to go. Like he probably died instantly. Honestly, just like got his nut off, and it's just like, oh yeah, like you didn't feel anything.
He should
For
have
her though, traumatized forever.
You got gators and stuff in there too. Like, it's just so
Yeah,
bold,
terrible,
so bold.
terrible.
They were
And, like-
asking for it.
But like the whole time he's like chasing her into the swamp, like further and further. He's like, "Don't you know the stories about this place?" I'm like, "Oh my god, this movie!" Like, here we go, 5 minutes in, this is gonna be it, and that's what I got.
And like the rule in horror movies is, virgins survive. That's probably why he died, right? He was a virgin. He lost it there, and then and she is very traumatized. When we only get to see her once later on in the movie, she's not even speaking. She's just in a chair, very quiet. The sheriff goes to speak to her, and she just yells.
She's got Bamfine abilities like fucking Nightcrawler.
That fucking
X-Men.
got me. That really got me.
Did
It's
it?
like, because the sheriff's like, if she says something, let me know. Because holy fuck.
They like cut it though. Like you don't see her move. Like it cuts to the next frame, and she's just like right beside him.
I hope she's okay. I hope she makes it out. Like once they tell her Swamp Thing's dead and stuff like that, or Man Thing's dead. So, but yeah, Swamp Thing is DC.
It's not Swamp
I'm gonna-
Thing, yeah.
No, I'm gonna get that mixed
Clear
up all the time.
distinction.
Yeah. But let's talk about the sheriff. That's Dylan's name. Dylan, what do you think about our sheriff? He's a hot shot from New York. I think they implied, right? Something
Just
like
keep
that.
calling him like Yankee, don't they? Which
Yeah.
is weird because isn't that like an American term? Like that you just call.
Well,
like a...
it's a term for like New Yorkians, I think. It's
Oh,
the New York
okay.
Yankees. So that's why I'm assuming he's from the.
Oh, that makes
and I think
sense.
at one point they're like, "You from the big city?" Like it's all super generic, like stuff we should say to people in Kelowna when they come from Vancouver. We should say to Dylan, "Oh, from the big city."
Yeah, with our chewing tobacco and our rotten teeth. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think to me this is like one of the biggest reasons why this movie falls apart is that the acting on this guy is just horrendous. Like, sorry to whatever his name is, because I'm sure
Yes.
the script is not great. I'm sure the directing and all that like wasn't top notch quality. But his delivery it almost seems random. Like in certain scenes, he'll just get really heated and like start popping off, and it just like doesn't make any sense. Other scenes, there's like what should be a big emotional moment. There's like some big piece of information, and he is just blank, as if he's like reading a cue card and he's like on SNL or something
he
like that.
could
Like it is really atrocious and really inconsistent. So yeah, I think it's too bad that there's not much meat on the bone of that one, and it also makes what is like. Separately, the love story part is incredibly forced, of course.
Oh
But the
my
fact that
God.
he is like a very uncharismatic person does not add anything to that. So it's a whole mess for sure.
Yeah, I hate to see it because I'm sure not many people are reviewing Man Thing. So I'm gonna apologize to Matthew Lee Neves if you see somewhere on time like, oh man, there's people reviewing Man Thing.
2022. He's like, I wonder who's reviewing, man. these
Yeah,
days.
so I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah, it was not good. It was definitely. This is where I wish we had a bit more of a, the So Bad So Good or like a cheesier actor. I would have taken that
Right.
over. He was trying to be very serious, very by the books, like, oh, this is a big time horror film. Like, no, I wish we had someone that was a bit more energetic, especially because they describe him as this guy from the city, but he's just like a quiet detective. But yeah, he was easily my least favorite thing. He made it the times where if Kirkman was talking about how it felt long or I didn't want to continue watching it, it was stuff where he was primarily around. And especially sucks because like once his partner goes, who has like a bit more personality, then it's just him. And I'll agree with you. I've seen a lot. I don't know if I can say this, but I think this is the worst love story I've ever seen in any movie. They have no reason to kiss whatsoever
Yes.
when it
Yeah,
happens.
No reason.
They meet, their first meeting. I know they're trying to make it flirty, but it doesn't come off that. It just comes off like they're annoyed by each other. There's a scene where she's in the station. She kind of explains the story. And then it's like the next time they see each other, there's a kiss. And they kiss like 3 times. Why? There was no connection, not a scene where they're like
Although,
trapped somewhere,
It was
bonding.
out of pity, right? Like because they just saw they just saw, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but then they were going back to the truck, and then Sheriff Kyle's like, yeah, I know, Deputy, I got his name, Eric. Yeah, he got killed. Like ripped his arms off. She's like, oh, I'm
Was it
so
Eric?
sorry. I think Eric. Yeah, Deputy
It was
Eric
like Crawford
Fraser.
or something.
I thought it was
Fraser.
Patrick. It was
We all have
Fraser,
different names.
yeah.
Yeah, Eric Fraser. Yeah.
Oh, you could be lying. You
I
could
got
be
the
lying.
IMDb. I got the IMDb
Okay,
up.
fair enough.
But yeah, he just starts like talking about how he got killed. And then they just get in, they start kissing, and then the scene again, it just cuts where it doesn't make sense because when Mr. Schiss pulls up, and then you just look and like his shirt's almost halfway unbuttoned done. Like she's like trying to put her like jacket back on. Like what was gonna happen here? Were they going full passion?
It's so dumb, right? 'Cause, yeah, they're talking about someone who's gone missing, so it's like the least romantic thing of all time. But then she like takes her hair down, flips it once,
yeah.
and then like
What are you, a fucking
immediately they
virgin?
just start making out.
Yeah, you a virgin? Oh man, on IMDb, this is his top credit. But he was acting as late as 2020 in a TV show as Cal Isaac in Abstina or Absia. Oh, there you go.
Absentia, yeah.
Absentia.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah,
For him.
this character, he totally would have just felt like an additional like side character to our protagonist in a movie like this. Like him wearing the cop outfit, like he has that look to be like someone in a movie like this, but to have him like leading us on as a protagonist, it definitely made it rough to follow for myself because yeah, like his line delivery was just so flat. It was like a soda that was out for like 3 days. Like it just no bubbles or fizz or anything with it, and and like there are so many moments too where like I guess I could use the example like when he shows up and it's just like, oh, there's new sheriff in town. You know, it's funny we were talking about The Rundown not too long ago. Very similar situation, but anyways, or is it? No, I'm mixing up those two.
Walking
I'm
Tall.
Walking Tall. Thank you.
Yeah.
You threw me a lifeline there. But so like a badass like new sheriff in town, save the day, and he just didn't have like any badass feel to him at all. Like when he shows up to like the work site, and he's just like these protesters are just like bullying this poor guy. They like throw him in the mud basically, and like again he carries oh my gosh, what was her name? The love interest of his.
Well, I don't know her name. I just know her as Trisha
Okay.
Walker.
Rachel
from
Taylor.
Rachel
Jessica
Taylor, thank you, Taylor.
Jones. Rachel
so,
Taylor.
So when he's
What,
like
her name's
carrying her out
Rachel?
there, it's like that's the moment that he's like he like got the upper hand on her, but like it's just weird because from that point on, I would have assumed that these two characters would have just hate each other for the rest of the movie. But no, by the end they're just in love, and it just, as you guys pointed out, it's so strange, it's so forced, it's so. It doesn't make sense. It's unneeded. Yeah.
Just make them
Man.
team up. They don't got to be kissing and everything like that.
Yeah.
But that's 2000 trope where every male and female you
2005,
got to fall
yeah.
in love. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that scene too, when they're at the construction site, when he gets kicked in the nuts, he has no reaction to that. It's
Yeah,
not
a
until
cup.
later that
He
he
was
gets
wearing a
knocked
cup.
down. But when he gets kicked, yeah, there is like no
He has
reaction
nothing there.
whatsoever. It's wild.
That's why he's the sheriff. There's so many criminals that go for the nut shot and just nothing, and he arrests them.
I don't want to insult this guy, but like even as an actor, like that's like the easiest thing ever. I don't know. I feel like to act that moment out, we've all been there, right?
Oh,
But
I
anyway.
agree. Yeah, no.
They like
Yeah.
kicked him, and then he like remembered that he had to react. It's like, oh shit, okay, going down.
Yeah, and it was weird. I feel like it went from 0 to 100 really quick. So they have the sheriff, right? And he meets with the coroner guy, which that was another weird character. But so the first half an hour, because I looked at the time, it's alligators. It's alligators, whatever's happened, like it's alligators and stuff like that. They find that first body, which I guess you could say it's alligators, but it's just like in my
A tall
life,
ass alligator.
yeah, just like the way it's deformed, what's going on and stuff. And it's so weird because and near the half hour mark too, they find another body and the coroner's like, it's alligators and stuff like that.
We can write it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure there's an alligator.
But then
This guy.
our main lead gets a call and then he tells the coroner, he's like, you want to go for a ride? So they go to the crime scene where the tree has come up out of the thing and he's like, well, look at the tongue. The tree's coming out. It's not going in, all this stuff. And then right away he's like, you know those crocodile attacks? Yeah. those aren't crocodiles. That's like within 5 minutes, he was definitely crocodile. Now I know they're trying to say, "Oh,
the
the character's
best corner
lying."
they got.
Yeah, but like the coroner, he didn't went to me when he was telling him each time at the morgue that they're crocodile attacks. Didn't feel like the actor was playing it off like he's hiding something. He's just like, these are crocodiles. And it also is like the amount of bodies we're finding, they just kept, they're crocodiles. Like for the full first half an hour of this movie, they just thought it was just crocodiles. And I get it, because you can't think it's some man-thing creature, but the way these bodies were being like decomposed, like, even like, I love our sheriff was like, you think this is some sort of spiritual stuff? It's just like, I guess, but yeah, I just found the relaying of events very funny, of how the rising action went from it's just normal to fuck no, this is not a crocodile, I've been lying about it my whole life, they pressured me to tell you it was a crocodile. It's like, wow, we're getting this whole government conspiracy theory laid down on us and everything like that.
I really liked the sheriff. I thought he was great. I loved when he was.
Oh, okay.
It's true.
That's a lie.
I'm a sucker again. These 2000s horror movies, I'm such a sucker for, and I'm a sucker for that kind of like hero. There's a character just like this guy that in the first Wrong Turn movie, so I'm biased, but yeah, I thought he was great when he's coming on the boat at the beginning. He's like, why do they call it Bywater? He's like, because by the water. It's just so,
Buddy with
so
no
wild.
fucking teeth.
Yeah, it was so good. All you city boys are all alike. It was great stuff. Oh my goodness.
I feel like they spend so much time in the movie. If you added up all the screen time of just people reacting to him being the new sheriff, like
Yes.
everyone has to have some quip about it, whether it's like, the first coffee's free but the second's twice the price. I kind of like that one, but like every character has to have like some fucking line just reminding us as the viewer, I guess, that he's the new sheriff again and again.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
think-
cheesy.
I think it's their job trying to show him like he's out of his depth. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
know what's going on. He's taking full charge on this situation with Man-Thing and everything going on. And I feel like they try to do, maybe not so much, that's why I didn't hate it, but I feel like they try to like introduce many different players to think that this might be what's taking out the people. But they clearly from the get-go, like Taylor said, they're doing these weird camera shots, they're doing quick flashes and creepy music. And I feel like they heavily insinuate that at the beginning it's something supernatural, but the whole movie they're trying to be like, well, it could be these racist guys, it could be Renee in the swamp. Like until Frasier gets killed, they are just trying to insinuate it could be something else. And poor Frasier, and talk about the bad acting of the sheriff, when they were going through that swamp and Frasier gets picked up and he's like, whatever the sheriff, and he gets, he's like, oh, and like the way he like passes out, and just like, and it, like when he woke up, he didn't even say like he cared about Frasier until they bumped into the girl and he just wanted to get the kiss. But that scene, man, I had my eyes roll out of my head of just, it's tough one, tough to
Yeah, a
swallow
lot
there.
of that.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Tim. No, you. Go ahead.
I was just gonna quickly piggyback on his love interest here, Rachel Taylor, because she so obviously this came out in 2005, Man-Thing, and then in the lovely year of 2007, we had not only Ghost Rider, we also had Transformers, and she hit it big here in Transformers as well. So I
She
thought
hit it big.
She hit it
She
big.
hit it big.
She hit it big. And on that note too of other characters, the actor that played Man-Thing, he, I found out, played Bolg in The Hobbit, and he also played the Mountain. He played the Mountain in Game of Thrones. I found.
No. Oh, Man-Thing. Sorry, I think it's the sheriff.
Conan Stevens. No, not the sheriff. No.
Stevens.
No, I can believe that because those are
Sheriff.
he's just playing like a big muscly guy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm like the sheriff was the Mountain in Game of Thrones. There's no fucking way.
Got fucking jacked.
Yeah, the Mountain is like a pro wrestler times 10 and stuff like that. So were you saying Rachel Taylor was also in Ghost Rider?
No, I was just saying 2007 was a
You're just
great
saying
year
that
for
era.
Ghost
Oh my
Rider and
God.
Transformers.
Well, I mean,
But
it's funny that
wait,
you.
where's the Ghost Rider? Why are you saying that?
2007.
But what does that have to do with Rachel Taylor at all?
Same year that Rachel Taylor was in Transformers in 2007.
Why does that matter?
Are you following along?
Yeah, well, you don't get it.
Come on, it's clear.
That makes no
I-
sense. You don't even
I'm
mention
surprised
that.
though. I mean, Taylor. I guess you haven't seen Jessica Jones, but Rachel Taylor, as Travis mentioned, is in Jessica Jones as Trish Walker, like her main compadre. And so that it's
Hellcat.
funny because I feel like I always saw those memes back in the day. It was like, Chris Evans, and they like show a picture of him in Fantastic Four, and then him in the MCU, or even like Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, then he's Deadpool now, and a bunch of people have played like shitty been in bad superhero movies in the past. I feel like this one has got to be one of the best glow ups because she's like, for all the problems Jessica Jones has, she's fantastic in that show, especially like in that last season, even though that's not a great season, but she I have some great memories with that character there. But like, from the quality here to there, that's a pretty big glow up for her. So I mean, that's a character I'd love to see brought over to the MCU and all those shows come over. So maybe we'll see her again in the MCU someday. But I mean, I think she is like probably the best actor in this movie.
Yes.
Once again, she doesn't get a whole lot of material to work with, but I think it's like she's the one character that I was like rooting for. And part of it was because I'm like familiar with her from Jessica Jones now, of course. But I just think, maybe the best acting or more interesting character or something. It's not much. It's just like a few steps up from everyone else.
They gave her that accent and everything too, which was a choice.
And this was one of her first roles too, I think. On IMDb,
Yeah, I
right?
think. Yeah, and then another movie. I always say this to Taylor, which we got to retro this one day. I still surprised you talking about 2000 movies. How you've not seen See No Evil, the WWE produced horror movie with Kane the wrestler. She's in that, and she has a very iconic death. Like it's a really good one. But yeah, I know it is a globe. I think it's just that. Man, every time you bring up season 3, I just remember what they did to like the ending of that character. It's just like I bet you don't even remember, Dylan, but it was just a rough with Trish Walker.
I forget. I thought it wasn't the end like setting her up as like Hellcat as a character. Spoilers.
No, they do that in season 2, and then season
was that
3 they
season
go.
2?
Yeah,
Okay.
they go the exact opposite, and she's kind of like the villain of it, and it just kind of goes against like.
Oh God, man, it's
Yeah.
been a while. Apparently, I've forgotten that character.
Yeah, but one day I'll watch See No Evil. But yeah, no, I like her. I've seen her in a few things popped up, not Ghost Rider, obviously, because she wasn't in that. But yeah, I liked her. But she was actually in it a lot less than I was expecting too. She has that little. Thing at the beginning. She's friends with the guy. She has a couple kissing scenes. I guess she's all in the finale, so that's good. The whole because she does have to take our sheriff to the dark waters, which is just a lot of walking through dark water and just shooting plants and stuff like that. But,
She almost got her head blown off. The sheriff is like, I almost shot you.
yeah. Exact scene. I don't have anything to add to that. That's the exact scene. I feel like a character that you really liked. The photographer, because I feel like
He was so annoying.
I feel like I saw a lot of you. It's so funny that
Did see a lot of
Justin
Taylor in that.
Hammer, a lot of the characters I see Taylor in, he's always like, I fucking hate those characters.
I don't know how I relate to Justin Hammer, but I knew it. I thought,
You
okay,
are
this guy's
100%
on
Justin
screen. I thought,
Hammer.
fuck, these guys are gonna do the review. People are gonna be like, oh, this is Taylor here. I thought, oh, I'm not walking around in the swamp with no 2 Rottweilers or whatever. And I feel like
You smell that,
I
Taylor?
should have.
It smells like my future.
I should have rewinded it and just rewatched it because I feel like I blinked and it just happened, but like the schist guy just shot off his gun and he just died. He was just draped over a branch. Like,
Yeah.
did I miss something?
No,
Like,
that was it.
did I pass out? What the fuck? But
It
no,
scared
yeah,
the
it's just,
schist guy, and yeah, they shot him.
it's just done. Yeah, like Jesus just goes up and lifts them and just like, oh fuck, take photos of me, huh? Just walks away.
Like what a random thing to introduce as far as like our sheriff's down. He was like fighting with Renee, kind of whatnot, and then like I said, that line, he just like, you know what that smell of, sheriff? It's my future. He's like, look at all this. He's like talking about the magazine he's gonna have, like all these things, and then he just runs off the woods to get shot. Like it was like
It's such a waste of like a death in this movie too, because you could have
Yes.
had a good monster death with this character. Like he's
They didn't
on
have
the
the budget
pursuit
for that,
of this.
Kirklin.
He's looking for it.
We saw whatever killed. Whatever,
My photo.
I,
Like in
guar-
with the 12 gauge.
I guarantee you there could have been a chance where that was the plan and they didn't. They're like, we might not have budget to film this, so that this was the alternative death. Because like it does look good, but with 7.5 budget, they probably didn't. They only had so much room to use Man Thing, and they had to wait for that terrible fire explosion at the end. Because fuck, like I thought Man Thing looked good until they exploded him. That was awful. That was looking really rough.
Yeah. You look. I mean, it's a similar thing with like the Predator movies or something. Like I feel like the way that they're able to like hide his initial viewing, like it just makes him so much scarier. Especially there's a lot of scenes of like it's a dark swamp, but you see this like silhouette with the red eyes. And it's like, oh, what is that? And you can't get a full like look of it. But and then I was like pleasantly surprised by that when we actually see him like confront our quote unquote air quote heroes. Like it actually looked pretty good, like the animation around his eyes and everything. But then
I really
the
like
big
the eyes.
explosion. Yeah, and, like the little bugs going around it, like it looked very supernatural, and I liked that a lot. And yeah, just the tendrils, everything. It was really, really good. But like you said, Travis, the explosion could have done without a little bit. It was a little. They're trying to be very just big budget with
Yeah.
on a little budget.
Well, it was weird too because like they do this explosion, all goes around him, and he like disappears, but then he like reappears and then sinks into the ground. Like I was like, just leave the explosion and stuff like that.
He like
And
looks around for a second too.
Yes.
It was weird. I didn't know what was gonna happen at that moment.
No,
He's like, "You showed me, guys," and then he just goes back to the swamp. It's like a happy ending.
I guess you don't like me, do you? You're trying to explode me. Like I was gonna laugh if Renee did this huge explosion, sacrificed himself, and it didn't kill Man Thing. Like I thought that's what was happening. Even like in that finale, how gunshots work, I don't understand because Renee got shot point blank in the chest by the
He's
sheriff.
fucked.
And he got right back up a minute later. Like I understand the sheriff got shot, but they specifically showed you it was the arm. He got shot in the chest, and I guess they're trying to say maybe he had bulletproof stuff, but we didn't know that. So he just got shot and he got right up.
Well, just to kind of touch upon like Man Thing getting killed there, that was like you guys understand that was the oiling rig being blown up that killed or like retreated Man Thing, right? Not the explosion.
Say
What
it
do you
again.
mean?
Like the oil rig that was there, that was why Renee blew it up, so it would retreat Man Thing because it was disturbing the landscape, right?
The pump.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess my whole thing was just that they exploded him and then he was gone, but then they made him reappear. So save yourself the budget and just have him gone after the explosion if the pump's gone. You know, you don't have to show him reappear and budget him look around and stuff. But yeah, I understand that. Like that's what I liked for the most part. It's weird they were trying it first because Man Thing was taking out all like the racist characters and the polluting characters, but then in the middle he took out Frasier. So I was like, okay, you kind of took that out because I was watching for. I was like, okay, I like this. That all these characters that are shitty or shady or the bad people, they're the ones dying. So it is still a mystery, but it is like this character's doing some good. But then yeah, he did take out our partner who was not shady at all, and he just destroyed him. So that kind of defeated the purpose of Man Thing to me. I get it, it's like it's a scared predator, but I thought they were going somewhere with that, and they kind of dropped the ball. So.
No, I mean, I guess even killing like that guy at the beginning, like we don't really get much of him, but he's still like a quote unquote innocent character, right? As far
You
as
don't know
we
what he did, Dylan. You don't.
He's
know
an innocent young virgin man. Okay, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Fucking in my swamps. Get out of
Yeah.
here. You're polluting it.
We mentioned it earlier, but yeah, I like the one thing I really want to commend this movie for is the swamp, the look of the swamp. I mean, I think they just went and found like some good sets. I'm assuming because they're really like knee deep in water and stuff like
Yeah.
this, or if they did it like in made sets and stuff like that, I think they did a really good job of making it feel authentic. And just a lot of those like shots where you're in the swamp and it's dark and green. Like I really like the visuals of that. I think it really sets the place very well for what is kind of like your finale kind of occurs there. We're only there kind of intermittently, but I just love whenever those shots. So yeah, shouts to the look of the swamp. And I'm curious what you guys think about this. Like they kind of throw this sort of side storyline in there, of course, like like that energy thing, that pump. I guess they're like pretty much building that on native land, and
Yes.
that's like a big controversial thing. But then it turns out that like the elder just sold the land because he wanted some money. I don't know. I just felt like they didn't like they just kind of threw that story in there for
Yes.
some reason. I don't really know what it is. I think the fact that the elder sold the land like just was such a twist that did absolutely nothing for me. It was just like, what is the point of any of this if you're going down this route? Like, just skip that part of the movie. You can cut that out and just focus on the other stuff.
Yeah, it was weird because Renee is the one that reveals that, right? And I was liking the movie where we go, where it's like, okay, just Man Thing taking out stuff. Here we go. And then they reveal it, saying, "Oh, I don't really want to go this route. I don't need this serious. Like, I get it. It was on the reserve, but really they did sell it, so they've been lying to people, but they did sell it, so it was legal." But then it only gets touched upon like a few times. It doesn't even become a big thing. It's just like in passing, every once in a while, a character will mention it. And then you did have the guy that sold it is the one that goes in the swamp, right? He face off against Man
No,
Thing.
was that
think
really?
so.
That was him?
Well, that's what I was confused about because even then, the whole like he's like, I'm gonna finish this so like it stop happening or whatever. But I feel like Man Thing killing you is not gonna finish it. Like the pumps, you gotta take out the pump. So I feel like he just kind of sacrificed himself. And man, what an image when Man Thing picks him up and his tendrils just through him, and then they do the point of view and his head's like he's just he's just shaking. I
That
laughed.
happened with Schist too. It seems like every time Man-Thing would pick him up, from our perspective, he's not really doing much. But then from Man-Thing's perspective, he's like fucking Norman in the Green Goblin tank.
He's like on 5 times like fast forward speed and everything like that. So yeah, I was happy it wasn't there too much. I think they could have just cut it entirely. This whole idea of the reservation, but.
Like
Again,
why
I guess,
have this character have these like regrets and like have to have him like all suspicious? Like just have it on like native ground and that's perfectly fine and we can have our movie that way. But it's gonna be like,
Yeah.
What does he say? He's like, my sin is what has him here or something like that.
Yeah. Then they're like, who's he gonna kill? And he's like, everyone. It's like, what? And that's where the movie like started to dip for me because again, I thought Man-Thing was targeting people. I thought he was targeting certain bad people. But then I was
That
just like,
line, yeah. The Man-Thing's made up his mind on who he wants to kill. It's like, who's that? Everyone.
it's like, well, okay. How did he jump to that conclusion? Like, and like, is he gonna disperse and go out there? So those were a little less exciting or like interesting for me. But that's where it's a 2000 trope because I feel like that was always a big thing. Where with like Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Wrong Turn, there's always some like backdoor or Hills Have Eyes as far as like, oh, there's a mini plot of why this thing's happening and it's kind of our fault. But it's not really the main plot. It's just like a couple lines of, well, you know, Man-Thing wouldn't be here if I didn't sell this land. So he like felt that it was his. But then he's not even in the finale. He just gets killed off. Well, he gets killed off or he just stays at home. We're all unsure on this. I'm pretty sure he was the guy, even though like Terry had to kind of help him walk around. I guess he did take a boat over, right? So he didn't need to walk over. But I took it that was the same guy. I think it was. So.
That Renee fellow, so again, very just mysterious, like running around through the swamp and
Remind
everything
me
like
of
that.
you.
One
No, I'm joking.
one scene in particular, just I don't know why, it just made me chuckle. But the one like Schist's son was just walking through and he had his gun down. He fires a bullet down in the water, but the guy like Renee grabs the barrel like and just appears out of the water. He would have been shot point blank range, like clearly, but like he grabs it and just like leaves him for dead in the swamp. But just absolutely nuts.
That, and I feel like that scene was a little longer when he was walking around. So Renee was down there holding his breath the entire time. Like Renee is just like a ex-Marine Corps guy or something. Like, I don't know what his backstory is, and hopefully Feige doesn't choose to bring him back for Multiverse of Madness 2. But like, it was a strange scene, and at first I thought they were going to try, because I hadn't seen this well, I thought they were going to try and say that Renee was also Man-Thing, like he was turning back and forth.
That's the way it was seeming like for a while, you know. It was like a Scooby-Doo character that's like he always has to be like near the crime scene, but like you don't see the two of them on screen together.
When the sheriff looks at a like a bush and he's just like hooded over here and he's like, you shouldn't be here. and he's hidden, but then he just walks and fully reveals himself. It's like, what the fuck's going on with Renee?
It's like The Rock in a fucking early Black Adam screening. That's how it was.
And that's where I was happy he was not, but I thought that's what they were changing about Man-Thing, that he could shift in and out. And he was like stuck to the woods. And then they said like him and Terry like knew each other. Like Terry knew that he was hiding in the dark waters and stuff like that. They had this relationship that we didn't really know much about, just that they talked, I guess. So cool, you know, that's something.
I was wondering too, like I felt like there was this thing going on whenever Man-Thing would be like, you know, stalking someone down to take them out. Their like power would go out or would like flicker on and off and stuff like. But I felt like it was inconsistent. Like it didn't always happen.
Yeah.
Like, is it supposed to be that just like Man-Thing's presence is like, you know, he has some magnetic aura to him that like knocks lights out? Is that what's supposed to be going on there?
I think
or
that's
is
what
there
they're
something
saying.
else?
Yeah, that he's just that powerful of being like his eyes, you know, probably doing that. You know, his eyes are putting out that energy. But it was inconsistent. And again, I just chalked it up to they might not have the budget to keep doing this.
I think it was because it felt more like, okay, they just want to do some fun cinematography, like horror stuff, where the lights go out, make it scarier. But yeah, it felt a bit weird to me. It was a bit inconsistent. You guys mentioned a couple things with guns. I noticed too, like at one point, because like whenever Man-Thing gets shot, like he very quickly regenerates and he's good for the most part. But he still has like a reaction, you know, because he still is shot. But then there was one time where I forget which character it was, but just like pretty much point blank shotguns him, and there's just no reaction whatsoever.
I think it was the sheriff because
Yeah.
they
Was that
zoom
the
in on his
sheriff?
stomach and he heals, but yeah, he just keeps moving. He's just going.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, there's a lot of just like little inconsistencies like that. I don't know if they just like forgot to do that and then they didn't want to go back and fix it, or if they just thought that looked fine, but it just looked like the shot that you would cut from the movie when you get the right take. It was very weird.
I think this is a movie that they shot together as fast as possible, and just like it got thrown together. So that's why it's like in one scene we'll do like even with the lights. Oh, we'll do it here, and they forgot like we don't care. We don't need to do it again. Like we did it once. Same thing with the healing or the reacting because. And I guess Man-Thing doesn't get hurt that much, but you could have kept it consistent. But I guess I don't know. Maybe he's overcharged at the end with his oil. Who knows?
What do you guys
Puts
think
his whole
of
hand
like,
in the barrel, maybe that totally supercharges him.
He did that to Shiz. Remember? He put that oil all
That
up
was
in him.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that?
I
Yeah.
know.
Tough way
It's
to
got
go.
remnant power ups, but anyways.
Yeah.
They kind of did the Predator thing too, where Man-Thing kind of is like his Man-Thing vision that you see sometimes. What do you guys think of that?
I loved it for the so good it's so bad portion. I don't know if that worked the best for like the budgetary wise, but I always got a good chuckle at any time.
I almost wish they doubled down on it and like did it more. Like
Yes.
I would have liked to spend more time kind of intimately with Man-Thing in that way. I think it could have been fun.
That would have been the sequel, Dylan, but it didn't happen. But the sequel we would have got so
yeah.
much.
What do you
Man-Thing.
think the chances were when they're filming this that they're like, this is going to do really well. We might get that sequel.
50-50.
Really?
It
You
was-
think it would be that high?
It was
Wow.
cheap enough. I think they were probably like, we
Okay.
could probably at least get this money back. And even then, it's like, no, you lost money on this, a lot of it,
Yeah,
so,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the Man-Thing's vision?
I agree. I think it was so bad it was good. I think I'm with Dylan. I would have appreciated a lot more of just like in the villain shoes, in our monster shoes, and just him going through the swamp, because like it was. I feel like it really got me when it was like on the characters and you just see them like again doing the back to formula thing. But like when he was going through the swamp, it was pretty quick. Maybe that's just showing like how quick Man-Thing can actually move in the swamp, like when it was just kind of going
Yes.
through there. But yeah, I liked it a lot. It seemed like it was something out of like an early 90s, late 80s movie, not a 2005 movie, but I am glad they saved the budget maybe for more Man-Thing, because the Man-Thing looked more polished than what this was.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, was that doing it for you?
I thought it was pretty cool to get that perspective. There were moments where it's confusing because it wasn't the vision, but it goes back hand in hand with those weird transitions we got where it was like similar, but it was, instead of a red hue to it, it was a yellow hue that was associated with it. So it wasn't his vision, but yeah, I didn't.
It was Renee's.
It's Renee's, yeah. I didn't really mind it. When Renee first popped up and he's like deeking around in front of the sheriff's like truck in the swamp and all that stuff, and then the sheriff has this whole conversation with Renee and then gets back into his vehicle and he's like backing out. And again, this made me jump, but I started to laugh because there's no cause for it. He's just randomly just backing up, and this fucking body just falls randomly on his windshield. Just
Right,
like,
and
this
it
is the
zooms in
definition.
hard on it, too.
It does. This is the definition of like just shoehorning in something into the
Yeah.
story without properly explaining it. So that
Zoom in
got
and
me.
lots of screaming, and then they just cut away from it and just yeah.
Yeah, and the fucking coroner's like, Sheriff, meet Sheriff. Just
Yeah.
weird dialogue.
He's been gone for months. We just instead of looking for him, we just replaced him.
Corner was a weird die that I wish Man-Thing got to. I wish it was. I don't know. I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't want to associate myself with the coroner. So. Yeah.
What does he say? He's like, I gotta smoke. He's like, do you have to do that? Oh yeah, I gotta. And then he like goes into like telling the story. But we took some more screen time to just show this guy having to get a cigarette.
Yeah. My last note is I just had to, of course, bring up the racist hillbilly guy who decides to go take a shit in the woods, and then, of course,
Yeah. What a
he
scene.
he trips and falls in his own shit. And he, when he gets back, the guy's like, I found some mud. And he's like, oh, mud or your mud, and whatever the fuck it. Like, it's just like into like first, like they just had this moment where they follow him the waist up, and he like bends down, and you don't see it. But then when you get to like where he is, and I get you gotta go because he even says like just go and pinch it out. But his like it's up to his ankles, the mud, and it's just so it's like where he's going. It's just disgusting. But that scene was preceded by our sheriff and Fraser Gold. They're like the thread in them because they want to talk to Renee, and these guys may want to like kill Renee. So he's like, no, like back off. And then he like gingerly like threatens to break this guy's arm. Doesn't look threatening at all, but he says he's gonna do it, and he's not. It's not gonna go by the book if you try to get in my way and stuff. There's a lot in this movie of I want to talk to this person, and other people want to go kill this person. Most of the time, it's Renee, but it happens more than once. But yeah, I just had to shout out that glorious scene of him just being covered in mud and stuff. So yeah.
He was just very bold because, like, yeah, he squatted down to do his business, and like he heard a noise, and we knew he obviously like relieved himself, but just the rate he just pulled his pants up so quick without doing any kind of like just a little cleaner toucher upper, like that's just so gross.
Would
So,
you do that though? If there's something in the woods, like a man thing?
I'd at least do one quick wipe and then just
Really?
be on my way. Oh yeah,
that could kill you. Really? You think man thing might be
Did
in
he
the
have
swamp?
toilet paper with him though?
He
I
did have a
forget.
roll of
He
toilet
did
paper.
have a roll of
yeah.
toilet paper. It was
Yeah, then
super
I think I
weird.
would have gone for a quick
But he
one,
doesn't. He doesn't know this man thing out there. All he knows is just like how
Cocks.
could you just could
Renee.
you just pull your pants up and just like
Yeah,
just-
keep in mind that this guy's IQ is like 0, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
true.
He's
very
an idiot,
dirty.
So
Very dirty as well. He looks very greasy. He looks like he hasn't had a shower in a long time.
He needs manscaped. Is what he does.
He needs everybody in this movie needs it.
100%.
except for Rachel Taylor, of course.
Exactly.
Rachel,
That's all the notes I got for man thing.
One thing that I'll also shit on, of course, is the music. I thought was just super generic and uninteresting. Just the very classic kind of like Western kind of bayou sort of music with the guitars, have lots of reverb and tremolo, just all that kind of stuff. Just very uninteresting. Don't think it really added much to the movie. Here's a fun fact. One of the writers, Hans Rodionov, cool name.
I like Rodeo better though. Hans Rodeo.
He also did some writing on The Unfinished Swan, which is like What Remains of Edith Finch is a spin-off of that game.
Oh, really?
So I thought that was like a very interesting thread between those two things that this guy, wrote. I don't think he was the lead writer on either of those things, but he was in the room. And then, we've kind of mentioned this in passing, but like the dismemberment and shit in this movie is super graphic and
Yes.
intense with like eyes popping out and like just vines and stuff going through people's bodies and stuff. Kirklin, I know you hate Saw and you're quite squeamish with that kind of stuff. Like I know this movie is maybe not as good as Saw. It feels weird to say because even some of the Saw movies are pretty savage. But yeah, how did that hit you? Was that too gross? Were you okay with it in this movie? What did you think?
I think it's because it was like a monster thing. It wasn't like, oh, this person's cutting themselves on like a knife
Sure,
right now,
yeah.
and I could like picture like what that could feel like. It's like I've cut myself, but like to the extent of that, what that would be. So I feel like that helps a lot, especially like with like when it comes to like Shist's death. I'm just like, this is just like a Venom origin right here. This guy's just juicing him with some symbiotic jar, and then he's just getting like the black veins coming out of him. So yeah, it didn't do too much for me. I feel like also I was just so much like I didn't feel like I was a character in peril in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not like I was like, oh my gosh, like what would it be like in this situation? It was just like, oh my god, the sheriff, what's going on here? So I think that helps a lot.
That was all my notes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have no I have no other notes. We talked about those, the Thibodeau brothers, I think they were. As soon as they got introduced, I was like, of course you gotta have to have these fucking characters in a movie like this. Just like the super unwelcoming, like hillbilly,
What you
like
doing in our
locals.
town?
Yeah. Just like, oh, why don't you take your friend back? He's like, we're brothers. And it's just like, yeah, okay, of course we are. And then it like I was anticipating what was going to happen with this crew on like how they were going to oppose our protagonist, and it was just classic. They're just looking for someone to kill. They're blaming someone for it, and that's what they were, and nothing really exciting around them like at all. So yeah, just the Thibodeau brothers.
Very anticlimactic when the first brother who got killed, when he saw a man thing, and he didn't, I don't even think he ran. He just stood in the mud. He was stuck and he's just freaking out, and yeah, just got get.
Got instead of got he got get.
Got get.
That's a good place.
That sounds
to
like something
end
that character would say.
it. Got get. But yeah, well, that is our prelude to Werewolf by Night, which I imagine we're gonna have a lot more to talk about there. This was a fun one though. This is good just to do a quick little watch and see what we thought. But yeah, let us know on the Discord, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to contact us. If you've seen this and if you have, what you've thought about it. Maybe you're watching it in preparation as well. But yeah, we'll be talking about Werewolf by Night, which features Man-Thing and obviously Werewolf and also Bloodstone. So I think that's going to be a good time. And I'm going to bar to guess that we're going to like them more. I guess I should go around. I know Dylan doesn't do numbers. Kirklin and Taylor, I know, you still do. What would you be giving this movie if you had to give it a number?
It's got to be a fail, right?
Absolutely. For me, maybe not Taylor. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 10 on this one. I think my 2.5 is coming from those horror elements, but like everything around it just made it not enjoyable. If this was like a 50-minute movie, I think I would have actually given it a few more points. But yeah, a lot of that dialogue was just so flat. It was like I want to just have this on in the background. Like that's where it was sitting. It's not like it's like, okay, this is something I can put on the background. It's like I want to be doing something else while this is on screen. Didn't the horror elements was enough to get me engaged there, but yeah. Blows my mind that Feige was on this. That's crazy.
Yeah. And all now,
to where he's at now.
Yeah.
This was
Learn
what
from
he
your
got him
mistakes, right?
the head of Marvel, right?
He's getting another chance at it come this October with Man-Thing, with Werewolf by Night. He's bringing him back, right? So yeah.
I would feel like I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10. I quite enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning of this retro, I loved getting the horror vibes, the Bigfoot element to it, the 2000s horror movie-esque kind of thing. Like, it just did so many things that I really enjoyed. I love the campiness of the characters, and yeah, it just really blended everything together that I kind of expected of that time period of a horror film. So would I, like, on my own accord, put it back on in the future? I honestly could see myself doing it. Wow. But I'm not going to be rushing to it anytime soon. Honestly, I'm just really, really stoked that I watched this and that adds a little bit more weight behind Werewolf by Night, because I was already super, super jazzed for Werewolf by Night. So now getting to go in there with a little bit more context of Man-Thing just has me super jazzed. At some point, like, I've been every so often I collect like a comic that is like not just specifically Ghost Rider, but Ghost Rider associated with another like hero or villain. And I know there's Ghost Rider and Man-Thing like collaboration comics out there, so I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled and see if I can snake one or something like that. So.
Nice.
Well, we were just talking about him revisiting. I was just looking at, so you have the project he's produced in the past and he's got to like redo. So he was a part of Spider-Man. Obviously, he's not the main runner, that just a producer. So Spider-Man, there was obviously Homecoming. And then Hulk, he did Incredible Hulk. And then he did do Blade Trinity, but that hasn't come out yet. So then after that was Punisher, which isn't official or anything. So Man-Thing. So technically, this is the third project where he had worked on something in the past, and then now he has a new version of it coming out. So, and he's only going to do that 3 times. Blade will be the 4th one, but still out of that, like, because they haven't got all the
Fantastic
characters.
Four as well.
Yeah, Fantastic Four,
Was he a producer on those ones back
I think
in
at
the day?
least the first one. Yeah, both of them. So yeah, that'll be the 5th one. So
crazy.
now that he's gotten the catalog back, he's starting to go through them. But for a while, it had only been the 2 and stuff like that. But I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. I can still pass it, because I think, like Dylan said at the beginning, and like I echoed, it's just not bad enough for me. Like, it's bad. Like, there is bad elements to it. It's not a good movie, but it's definitely. I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse. I've had a lot worse retros or reviews and stuff like that. But yeah, technically I'm giving this a better score than I gave like 2016 Suicide Squad. Like, there was enough that I thought, as just a generic monster flick, it works. Doesn't overstay its welcome, has some good kills, has an easy enough story. Yeah, there's some weird stuff thrown in, but a 50%, I'm happy with that. Just on the pass. So that's Man-Thing. We'll be talking about Man-Thing again in a couple days, and I promise when you hear from us next, I'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.